Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons, and we're going to talk about F. Wesley Snyder's Dragonlance, Shadow of the Dragon Queen. One of the best D&D canon hardbacks out of 2022. We're in Chapter 4, Shadow of War. The player characters have arrived in Calamon. They've had an audience with Governor Miat, and they are now under the charge of Marshal Ventry. Okay, Marshal Ventry. And Marshal Ventry assigns them to their first mission. She says that there is a reclusive gnome inventor by the name of Tatina Rookledust, right? And she says that Tatina, that they haven't heard from Tatina for some time, and Tatina is very integral in supporting their war machines, right? So Tatina needs to be brought back to Calamon. The player characters head out, and they find Tatina Rookledust. And they find Tatina Rookledust. She's a few miles away from the city in her home, and when the player characters arrive there, Tatina Rookledust's home is under attack by a group of goblins. These goblins are allied with the Red Dragon Army, and now we see it. The Red Dragon Army's the Red Dragon Army, its identity is becoming clear. It is very clear that there is an evil force in Solamnia, and that this force is growing. It has additional allies. Many of the monstrous races, the goblins, the hobgoblins, the ogres, the minotaurs, are all aligned with the Red Dragon Army, right? And this Red Dragon Army is beginning to sweep and be a scourge everywhere it's encountered, right? And so Tatina Rookledust's house is under attack by these goblins. Players' characters come in and help Tatina dispatch these goblins. Now Tatina is in her home, and she's up on like the second floor, and she's just literally throwing out these contraptions. And when she throws out these contraptions, they activate, and they specifically do things to fight the goblins. Now, what is F. Wesley Snyder showing us with Tatina Rookledust? I think Tatina Rookledust, this reclusive gnome inventor, is F. Wesley Snyder's commentary on drones in modern society. All right, so drones are very, very interesting. We've arrived at a very interesting point in American history with drones, right? Drones came out, and everybody's like, "Holy cows! These drones are cheap. They're highly maneuverable. You can use them to take pictures of things. You can, put lights in the sky." Recently, in my home city of Philadelphia, there was over the Philadelphia Art Museum, there was a massive, absolutely stunning fireworks display that had no fireworks. It was all drones, right? And so these drones were put into the air. There were like hundreds of them, and they were able to form patterns, right? And the nice thing is, hey, if you can put a whole bunch of lights in the sky without shooting fire into the sky, maybe everybody's dogs don't freak out. And so it was all the coolness of a fireworks display, but with a lot less danger, right? And so here we see Tatina Rookledust putting out these automated devices, right, that do the same thing that a soldier would do, right? And so it's kind of exciting just to see automation spoken of in Dungeons and Dragons. Now, what's really changed with drones is people were excited about them, but then we started to use them, and we found there were a lot of problems. So one of the problems is, as soon as you put a drone in the sky, does it drop on somebody's car? Does it drop on somebody's head? Does it drop on somebody's property? There's all kinds of problems. The other thing that we found is they are extremely easy to take down, right? Like, you literally just can shoot a rubber band at them and bring $1,000, drone out of the sky like nothing, right? And so there's been a lot. So now we're at a space where we're like, well, these are clearly useful, but we're not positive how we actually use them, right? Like, what, should they deliver pizza? I don't know. And Tatina Rookledust is in the same exact place. So what Tatina has already done was there was a soldier in black and red armor who came to Tatina Rookledust and said, "Hey, I see your weed cutter there, right? You have this big contraption that can sweep through a field and cut down all the weeds, right? Well, what I want you to do is I want you to modify that so that it looks like a dragon." Tatina does the work and unbeknowingly gives her technology, gives her her inventions to the Red Dragon Army, right? So the player characters have come to Tatina and aid her in escaping from these goblins who are trying to kill her, right, and take her technology. Actually, you know what? It wasn't clear. I think they were trying to actually. I was wrong. I don't think they wanted to kill her. Everybody wants Tatina Rookledust because her ability to improve and duplicate war machines is needed by all sides, right? It's needed by the Red Dragon Army, and it's needed by the Calamon Knights of Solamnia, right? So basically, the player characters are able to defeat the goblins and goblins. They're able to get Tatina Rookledust, and then they're able to return her to Calamon, right? Where her services are going to be immediately employed, right? Aiding in building machines to work against the Red Dragon Army. Now, what else is F. Wesley Snyder actually talking about here? Guess what? We have already had reports that the first drones have been used to kill humans, right? And so here we see the same thing. Like when people go to war, they want to give humanoids weapons, but they would love to have machines that actually can replace humanoids. And that's exactly what Tatina Rookledust is in the business of. Her boiler drac, she accidentally created that, unknowingly created the boiler drac, which was a device that was used to burn Vogler. That's another thing that happens here is we have the ability to create machines that can kill humans autonomously without an order given, right? And so Tatina Rookledust is an exploration of the question of how do we use our automation today? How do we code artificial intelligence, right? And this is happening right now, and unfortunately in America we have absolutely horrific answers for this right now, where we have developers who are coding cars that are going to drive, and it turns out that it's going horribly, right? Like no one is like, oh yeah, we're crushing it with our driverless cars. They're all like, oh no, it's going horribly, right? And one of the reasons why is you're putting a machine in the position of making a choice whether someone lives or dies, right? And the reality is no developer can write that code. That code needs to have essentially Asimov's first laws, right? Only better, right? You have to do in a split second a calculation of what is the value of a human life, right? And so you really need, before you ever reach a developer, you need a cleric, you need a theologist, you need a philosopher, you need a politician, and you need a scientist, right? Like coders should be brought in last and only execute the vision of these other people. But in Tatina Rookledust, that's exactly what we're seeing. We're seeing this open discussion of war machines being used to kill humanoids, right? Autonomously, right? And this is a deep, deep subject. This is a subject that actually belongs really firmly in the hands of a group, right? And that group is a philosopher, a theologist, a scientist, and a politician, right? You need all of them to weigh the good and the bad so that a decision can be made for the public. So brilliant, brilliant commentary on our IRL world through Tatina Rookledust. F. Wesley Snyder's new Dragonlance far surpasses anything Hickman or Weiss were ever able to accomplish with the Dragonlance setting. And Dragonlance Shadow of the Dragon Queen is now the preeminent Dragonlance D&D canon hardback ever printed, far surpassing even the Orange Spine easily. And I can say that because I own them both and I've read them to cover to cover. That's my humble opinion. Well, what's important is your humble opinion, which I'll get to hear when you get in the comments. Send your traffic. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.